In digestion, there are two metabolic stages. In the first stage, you digest your food and store the calories. In the second stage, you burn these calories. In this second stage, you often release toxins and don't feel good. Headache, fatigue, weakness, mental confusion, and irritability. And what makes those symptoms go away? Eating more food as a snack, because you've shut down the cleansing process. And because the American diet is so addictive, this is when you crave specific foods, usually high in salt, fat, and sugar. Dr. Fuhrman has named this toxic hunger as opposed to true hunger. Your body needs time between meals to process and release toxins. The period between meals is like a mini detox. In toxic hunger, you crave specific, usually unhealthy foods. If you go through this stage, then a few hours later you will experience true hunger. Instead of specific cravings, everything looks delicious. Snacking between meals reinforces your addictive cravings and shuts down your natural detox process. We are obsessed about protein. As Americans, we eat more protein per day than any other culture, and we're sick because of it. There are many misconceptions about protein that I want to dispel right now. The biggest animals on the planet are vegetarians. Elephants, hippopotamuses, giraffes, and gorillas all eat predominantly green vegetation. How did they get the protein to get so big? Obviously, greens pack a powerful protein punch. Many people believe animal protein is a higher quality than plant protein. This is false, and the results from the China study substantiate this. From various international studies, it is clear that getting 10% of your calories from protein is sufficient. If a large portion of your diet consists of vegetables, nuts, seeds, and beans, you will get plenty of high-quality plant protein. Another misconception is that animal products have more protein than plants. Which has more protein, steak or broccoli? As you can see, both broccoli and romaine lettuce have a higher amount of protein per calorie than steak. Look at the other nutrients that are higher in broccoli and lettuce. In fact, the only things that steak is higher in is cholesterol and saturated fat. To summarize, the Eat to Live plan works because the healthiest foods, the foods that are highest in nutrients, are also the foods that cause us to lose weight. There is no limit on the quantity of these foods. You don't have to eat smaller portions. You don't have to deprive yourself. The more you eat, the more of the health benefits you create. If you consciously choose to minimize low nutrient foods, you achieve greater health. It's that simple. A high nutrient diet will achieve the following: permanent weight loss, longer life, elimination of food cravings, increase of disease resistance, protection against heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. Look at the results that Dr. Fuhrman has achieved with his patients. Most of his patients with high blood pressure lowered their pressure and got off medication. Most of his patients with angina ended their symptoms in the first few months. Over 90% of his type 2 diabetics were able to discontinue their insulin within the first month. Over 80% of his chronic headache and migraine sufferers recovered without medication. Many of his patients with autoimmune illnesses were able to recover and discontinue their medications. To make it simple, there are 10 easy tips to follow. The salad is the main dish. Eat it first at lunch and dinner. Eat as much fruit as you want, but at least 4 fresh fruits daily. Eat lots of green leafy vegetables because they are the most nutritionally dense foods. Eat beans or legumes every day. Eliminate animal and dairy products. Have a tablespoon of ground flax seeds every day. Consume nuts and seeds in limited amounts, 1 ounce per day. Eat only small amounts of starchy vegetables and whole grains. Don't eat between meals. Let yourself become truly hungry. And keep it simple. Use the basic skeleton plan below. For breakfast, fresh fruit. For lunch, salad with beans on top and more fruit. For dinner, salad and 2 cooked vegetables with fruit for dessert. But it's hard to change how we eat, even when we know what to do. Eating has emotional and social overtones. We eat when we're upset. We also eat socially. Eating certain low-nutrient foods is how we celebrate in our culture. It's really difficult to break an addiction. If you accept that our modern diet, high in fat, salt, and sugar, is addicting, then it is understandable how hard and yet how important it is that you break this addiction in order to achieve optimum health. Part of us wants to change, part of us doesn't. These addicting foods are sometimes called comfort foods. We want to be healthy, but we turn to these foods to nurture ourselves. We all have lots of excuses why we can't do this plan. Here are some of the common ones. It's too radical a change. There's not enough protein. I will get too thin and my skin will wrinkle. My family will never eat this way. It's too difficult to eat this way when I'm traveling. There's nothing to eat in a restaurant. I've tried dieting before and I know I'll just gain all the weight back. I really don't like vegetables. Did any of these ring a bell for you? That is why most of us need some help in getting through the initial 6 weeks. It takes 6 weeks to break an old habit and create a new one. At our office, we've designed a program to support you as you get started. The first step is an initial evaluation. We go over the program, take your measurements, give you a copy of Dr. Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live, give you other support materials that I have developed, and sign you up as a member of the online Eat to Live community with access to thousands of people who have gone through this process. You get a chiropractic adjustment and emotional balancing every week to help you get through some of the unpleasant physical and emotional side effects of making this type of change. You will attend a weekly coaching support group of other people who are also going through this transition. We will do an evaluation and take measurements at the midpoint and at the end. Finally, we will help you decide on the next step. I want to end by telling you the story of 3 people who have done this program. In Robert's own words, I was generally thin until about 32 years of age. I gained about 30 pounds seemingly overnight. At 34, I began having labored breathing and was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, which caused significant scarring over a large area of my lungs. At age 37, I was 50 pounds overweight. My life changed one afternoon at an all-you-can-eat buffet. The button on my last comfortable pair of pants snapped and the zipper broke. It was funny, embarrassing, and deadly serious all at the same time. That day I decided I had to change, and I went to the bookstore to find some answers. I stumbled upon Dr. Fuhrman's book, and it made sense to me. 6 months later, I was 60 pounds lighter. Later, I had an MRI, which showed that I had no trace of the sarcoidosis. It had completely cleared up, just as Dr. Fuhrman had predicted. I'm now 46 years old. I run about 20 miles a week, and I have unbelievable stamina. I feel great. I look 10 years younger than I did a couple years ago, and I take no medication. I have competed in several triathlons and am preparing for my first marathon. In Charlotte's own words, I had been heavy since childhood. It would be easy to blame my problems on heredity, since there's a history of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes on both sides of my family. Through the years, I tried many diets with only minimal success that never lasted. I reached a top weight of 263 pounds on a 5-foot 4-inch frame and had resigned myself to forever being a plus-size woman. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, along with hypertension and high cholesterol, and had a stroke at age 56. To control all of these ills, I was prescribed medications that I was expected to take for the rest of my life. About a year after the stroke, I was diagnosed with a serious heart problem and ended up with 2 heart stents because of a 95% blockage and more prescriptions. Then I found Dr. Fuhrman and his book, Eat to Live. I quickly shed pounds, and my lab test results improved. Now, about a year and a half later, I am no longer diabetic and have had no further heart problems. Less measurable but important are that I no longer snore, have more energy, and have increased resistance to colds and flus that previously wore me down. The Eat to Live program takes time and effort, but for me the results have been well worth it. In Rebecca's own words, I saw Dr. Fuhrman on TV in 2003 and became really fired up about his eating program. I read his book from cover to cover. To this day, I still carry it with me. It is my second Bible. I experienced headaches and cravings the first 5 to 7 days, but because I could eat without weighing food or counting calories, I felt it was an even exchange. After a few weeks, I truly felt energized. My poor body was getting some sound nutrition. In the beginning, I weighed 482 pounds. During the first 8 weeks, I lost over 70 pounds. From that moment on, I never looked back. Week after week, I continued to lose weight. 8.5 months later, I'd lost a total of 133 pounds. By the following year, I'd lost another 100 pounds, and another 50 pounds by the next year. As I approached my ideal weight, the weight came off more slowly. I now belong to a gym and have incorporated walking with weight training into my weekly routine. I owe my life to the Eat to Live lifestyle. Dr. Fuhrman saved me from literally eating myself to death. How grateful and blessed I am. Whatever lies ahead, I'm ready for it. Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. The Eat to Live plan has the potential to turn your life around. Please consider making this change in your life. If you have any further questions or would like to get started, please call our office. Thank you.